Yesterday in the House Oversight Committee, there was a hearing about the Joe Biden presidency, most specifically, if there was a cover up over not only his mental unfitness to be president of the United States, but also whether anyone else was actually doing those functions. Their key witness pled the fifth. You'll see that coming up in a sec. Byron Donalds sits on that committee, one of our favorite congressmen from Florida. What he had to say, eviscerating this witness and eviscerating the Biden presidency, that's classic. And that's coming up in a sec. But first, to the hearing. This guy is known as, around D.C., as Dr. Jill Biden's work husband. I believe he was the chief of staff for the First Lady during the Biden presidency, and it's said that he worked with Dr. Jill to help Joe on some of his off days, if you know what I mean. Well, he was asked a series of very simple questions yesterday, and his answers, well, they tell us quite a story about what happened there in the Biden White House.
Mr. Bernal, did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Thank you. We're going to go off the record real quick. Okay, we'll go back on the record. Mr. Bernal, was President Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did any unelected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did President Joe Biden ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited in your testimony to Congress today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, is it your intention to decline to answer all questions put to you today by the committee on the basis of the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I can represent that is his intention.
All right. So that was enlightening, was it not? That's Anthony Bernal, Chief of Staff for Jill Biden. And again, as I mentioned earlier, often referred to as Jill Biden's work husband. I just want to review, in case you missed it, the questions that Mr. Bernal just invoked the Fifth Amendment over. Fifth Amendment, of course, protects every American from being compelled to answer a question that might end up incriminating them. You know, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, right? He's under oath in these hearings. Anything that he says could be used against them in a court of law. What question did he refuse to answer? What question was asked that he believed he had to plead the Fifth because it might incriminate him for potential criminal wrongdoing? Was President Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president? Why would answering that question incriminate you? Why would answering that question put you in danger of self-incrimination for a criminal proceeding? Other question. Did any unelected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency? He refused to answer that question on the grounds that it may incriminate him. Did President Joe Biden ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited to your testimony to Congress today? And to that question, he also pled the fifth. Okay. As I said, Mr. Bernal didn't say much. In fact, he just said the same thing over and over again. But what he didn't say spoke volumes. Byron Donalds, Congressman from Florida, here's his reaction.
Things first. That's just crazy. You can't answer a simple question about the former president's ability to discharge his duties, and you worked in the White House as chief of staff to the first lady, and you come in here and you plead the fifth. He can say whatever he wants in his testimony, which, by the way, his attorney read. He wouldn't even read his own statement. His attorney read his statement for him. So he came in there and said that him pleading the fifth is not an admission of guilt or anything about what was going on in the Biden White House, or was just to give any inkling to the fact that Joe Biden was lacking in capability. The fact that he couldn't make any statement, the fact that the White House doctor couldn't make any statement, and they both pled the fifth, which is their constitutional right to do. And we respect the Constitution like every American does. But the fact that they are now hiding behind the Constitution so that they don't have to tell the truth to the American people about Joe Biden's capabilities and mental faculties while he was president of the United States is not just shocking, it's stunning, and it demonstrates the level of corruption that was going on in that administration. The chairman is being nice. I don't have to be. This is corruption at the highest level. Because if you cannot answer a simple question about Joe Biden's capabilities, then that further demonstrates that he was not in charge of his administration. And if he was not in charge of his administration, then every order, every bill that was signed, every memorandum, as far as I'm concerned, are null and void. And congressional Democrats need to actually step into the light and not hide behind this stuff or run away from it, because everything that administration did, as far as I'm concerned, is unlawful. If he did not have the ability to discharge his duties, then anything that he signed or the auto pen signed or whatever, as far as I'm concerned, is null and void. And where was Kamala Harris? I'm not going to speak for the chairman. I'm going to speak for myself. As far as I'm concerned, every member of the Biden administration at this point needs to be subpoenaed. I don't care if they were a secretary. I don't care if they were a janitor working in there. They all got to come in and answer questions for this committee.
Counselor, does that include Dr. Joe Biden?
Of course. Her right-hand man, listen, Anthony Bernal was the right-hand man. That's her guy, her chief of staff. If he came in here and pled the fifth, I'm sorry. Former first lady, she got to come in here and answer questions. This is not that is the president's wife. I have a wife. James has a wife. Obviously, with family members, you want to do everything you can to protect your family. But if you can't answer a basic question to the mental capabilities of President Biden, then as far as I'm concerned, you now have to answer to the American people.
She's a former president or vice president, basically.
I think Kamala Harris need to please come in and tell us what she knew and when she knew it.
Mr. Chairman.
She ran for president, so she should be able to tell us what was going on.
Boom, boom, and freaking boom. As far as I'm concerned, every single action that took place in that White House, unless we hear otherwise, was corrupt and invalid. Every document, every executive order, every pardon, I think he left pardon out of there. And at this point, we should subpoena everyone. Should you subpoena the first lady? Yes, we should subpoena the first lady. Should we subpoena the vice president? Yes, we should subpoena the vice president. We're not playing around on this. This is the Constitution. This is the presidency. We all saw it. We all know that it was happening. And finally, we can actually acknowledge it and get to the truth. And the fact is, Democrats don't want to get to the truth. In fact, Democrats are doing whatever they can to stand in the way of any kind of progress in this country and stand in the way of us actually getting anything done and figuring out what happened in the past. We've seen that playing out with the Russian collusion hoax that's now finally being investigated. We discovered that with the January 6th hearings, where they didn't actually ask Nancy Pelosi any questions about security and the National Guard. They didn't want to hear from the captain of the Capitol Police that day and about the request he made for additional troops. They just wanted a kangaroo court to tell lies to the American people. And now here we go along the same path. Nothing to see here. Let's move on. What difference at this point does it make? In fact, let me show you something that just happened an hour ago in the Senate hearing. This is the Judiciary Committee where they were voting on judges. They voted on the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Judge Janine Pirro, and they also voted on a judge, goes by the last name of Bo, very controversial. Democrats don't like him because this guy loves the Constitution. They want to keep him off the court because he would actually be a great candidate for the Supreme Court. So they're trying to stop him. They're trying to block him. And there's a bunch of activist groups that fund this kind of behavior. Well, watch what happened when they tried to block the vote out of committee today. Check this out.
Sir, with all appeals to your decency, with all appeals to your integrity, with all appeals to past jurisdiction and past precedent, why are you doing this? This is outrageous.
This is a kangaroo court. That's what we have here,
This
Mr.
is
Chairman.
wrong. To violate your own rules without going by the mandates of the parliamentarian. This is unbelievable. There's a way to do this. If you want to force this through, if you want to ram this through.
All right. So Cory Booker, Spartacus, keeps talking and talking and talking. And you can see on that side of the screen, all the Democrats have gotten up and left. This was planned. This was choreographed. This was orchestrated. This was scripted. They all got up at the same time. And Cory says, you know what? I'll stay. I'll just keep talking. That's good. I'm good at that. No one listens to me anyway. So Grassley's done with this. He's the chairman. He's in his 80s. He's had more than enough of this nonsense from the Democrats. So he just says, yeah, I don't care. We're going to go on with a vote. So check this out. I'm going to bring the volume up again. Booker, as you can see, just keeps talking and talking and talking. Literally no one is listening to him. Grassley is continuing the roll call vote of all the Republicans on the nomination. Watch, listen.
Sir, God bless America. You are a good man. You are a decent man. Why are you doing this? What is Donald Trump saying to you that are making you do something which is violating the decorum of this committee, the rules of this committee, the decency and the respect that we have each other to at least hear each other out? I've sat through so many long speeches of my colleagues, heard their objections, listened with sincerity to try to see what their arguments are. But we are not doing that. Sir, this is wrong. And you know it. There are some people on this committee who are the least firebrand people, and they've walked out. Some of the least controversial people in the Senate, some of the people that worked the hardest to find bipartisan common ground have just walked out of this committee. And you don't even seem to care, but I know you do. I know your heart, Senator Grassley. This is wrong. I know the kind of person you are, and you know this is wrong. This is not necessary. What is another half an hour to allow senators to be heard? It's what the Constitution mandates. It's the ideals of the United States Senate.
The Constitution does not mandate the rules of the Senate. This is the thing about Cory Booker. I guess this is a skill set of his. Remember, he set a record for speaking over 8 hours. Yeah, what did he say? Quick, somebody tell me what he said. Nothing. Nobody can tell me what he said. He literally spoke for over 8 hours and nobody knows what the... Actually, didn't he speak for 24 hours? It was Hakeem Jeffries who spoke for over 8 hours in the House and said nothing. I think Booker went on for like literally a day, standing and talking without saying anything. This is his skill set. Everybody has a gift from God. I do believe that. I think God has given every single person on this planet a certain gift, and it's up to us to find out and figure out what that gift is. And Cory Booker, God bless him, he's figured out what his gift from God is. He can talk and talk and talk and not say a damn thing. By the way, I love the fact that his colleagues, all the empty chairs there on the panel, they all recognize it too. Tell you what, Cory, we're all going to get up and leave. It's going to be great on TV. Trust me, you'll get booked on MSNBC tonight. Rachel Maddow will love it. They'll want to hear your story. We're all going to get up and leave. We're going to go have a cocktail. You just keep talking, Cory. Yeah, you just go ahead. You speak for all of us. Go ahead.
Undermining of the well-being and the integrity of this Senate and this committee that I for so long, I've been so honored to be a part of. This is wrong, sir, and I join with my colleagues in leaving. This is a sham.
Vote.
This is wrong.
We'll report.
We're better than this.
Pratt to the floor. Now we'll have to vote on these nominees for U.S. Attorney because we don't have enough people on the other side, so we can't do it by voice vote. So the clerk will call the roll on Kurt Olme.
All right. That's enough. God bless Chuck Grassley, too. He's like, well, we're just going to have to go on with this as well. And he did, and they did, and the business got done, and the nominees got advanced to the floor of the Senate. And Democrats, again, just as an example here, So they're not interested in the truth. They're not interested in doing their job. They're not interested in doing anything really, and moving any legislation or moving nominations or getting to the bottom of what happened in the Biden White House and answering questions. No, we're just going to plead the fifth on something as basic as was there anyone else working in the White House on behalf of the president? They don't want any of that done. They just want to stop. They want to stand in the way, and they want to be drama queens. They're theater kids. They want to showboat for you because it's good for TV, but it's not good for our Constitution. It's not good for our country, and ultimately, it's definitely not good for their party.